finish line. You can't get there from here.
Strap on your feet bag. Wide Army. Running with scissors.
HWYRT.
HWYRT.
How come you're not running right now? No, seriously, grab some headphones and go for a run while you listen.
Come on, break.
And now, without further ado, here are Bryan and Peter.
Bryan, as
yes, sir.
I've said many times, this phenomenon of a podcast, How Is Your Run Today?
Yeah.
HWYRT,
Yeah.
is a global podcast. We reach the world. There are no borders.
No, not. There's no RSS feed borders, as far as I know. I mean, maybe there
No,
are.
there can be, but that's not how we operate.
Yeah.
To that end, friend of the show, my longtime friend, your fellow Syracusean Universityan,
Well, we'll get into that.
David Macklem, has sent us a dispatch from his home of Japan.
That's right. Why don't you regale our dear listeners with your relationship with Dave, starting in what, 3rd grade or something?
I mean, we've known each other, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, somewhere around there. Became really good friends probably around the age of 14. I've stayed very close, and even lived together for a short period of time.
I did not know that.
In the New York City, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Shared
When
an
was
apartment.
that? During college?
No,
After college?
Post-college, yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, he had lived in Mexico for a while. He came back. He lived in the city. This was before he moved to Japan. And we shared digs.
So you guys certainly went to middle school and high school together.
No, we were always we did grade school together. He was a grade above, I believe, and then he went off to a private school for high school.
But you lived in the same town.
We lived in the same
You
town,
stayed
spent
friends.
summers together, and did summer theater together. That's really the
Oh.
connection.
Okay, summer theater.
Yep.
Well, the interesting thing is then we sort of handed off the Dave Macklem baton, if you will.
Yeah.
And he went to Syracuse. Andrew and I went to Syracuse. We didn't. None of the three of us knew each other
I love that.
at first. But Andrea, and since we've put the pieces back together afterwards,
Yeah.
after we became grown-ups, Andrea certainly remembers Dave from some art classes.
Yeah.
And Dave and I realized we were at many of the same events throughout those 4 years. So we have that shared history of the college years together. So fascinating. And then at some point, he moved to Japan.
He did. After 2001, after the September 11th attacks, he decided he was done with New York City. Moved on out. I helped him move out. I remember going to get him and moving him out of Queens. We had both lived in Astoria, Queens. I had left the year before. And shortly thereafter, he relocated to Japan to start a web designing career. And then he eventually got married to a lovely woman and has 2 lovely daughters.
And you're going to go visit
I'm
sometime
finally going to get my butt over to Japan this coming April for 2 weeks. Cannot wait.
Amazing.
I'm sure we'll talk more about that. But for any HWRT listener who wants a deeper dive on who Dave is and why we're talking about him, you can go back to episode 155 in the archive. That's 155. And in that episode, you're going to find out that because of our simple little show,
This here little show.
that has nothing to do with anything,
Well, running.
I guess.
Tangentially.
I guess, he got interested in running again for himself and met up with a friend of his named Tim Cleminson. Tim is from Farnham, which is southwest of London.
Okay.
But now he lives in Japan, and he's a language professor at Okayama University.
All right.
And he's a big runner. And he basically became, I don't want to say a running guru to Dave, but they're very close in the running relationship, much like you and me.
That's not at all like what we are.
It's exactly what we are.
No, we run together and then talk about it.
It's great.
I think that Tim is a little bit of Dave's coach.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
It's like a Professor Lollipop.
Eureka! I've done it again!
In any case, we know Dave's training for a marathon that's right around the corner.
Literally 1 week from today.
Okay.
We're recording on Sunday. Next Sunday, the Okayama Marathon. It's going to be his second official marathon run. Fourth
Fantastic.
time doing that distance, but second official. He is more than ready
Great.
from all accounts. And I think part of the reason why he recorded this interview with his buddy Tim is to keep his mind psyched. You know, the taper trap is deep.
It is.
And I think
right. And for us in the US, there's nothing else going on.
no, there's nothing going
think
on
about.
at all in the U.S. or global implications at
Right.
all. So why not just record a show about running? So
Well, I'm excited. I know Dave's deep in the taper. He's going to have a fantastic marathon.
it's going to have a great marathon.
But that's not what this interview is about.
No, not at all.
It's about a race that Tim did that is very much in the HWYRT sort of vein.
Yeah, a little more homegrown.
That's what I'm talking about.
Self-stitched, if you will, pieced together.
Yes.
Not unlike something like, I don't know, the Soul Searching Solstice Run or other crazy things that people might come up with out of the blue.
For people who are getting ready for Millinocket or the Soul Searching Solstice Run, I'll make sure to put those theme songs on the back end of this interview.
Well, don't we want to come back and talk about our run we just did?
Let's do that. But let's first go to our friend of the show, Dave Macklem.
You mean the guy who produced this week's episode?
Alert! Alert!
Well, hello there, friend.
Hello.
This is HWYRT foreign correspondent Dave in Japan, coming to you from the land of the rising sun. Okayama City is on the southwestern half of the main island of Honshu, well protected by the inland sea. Okayama is well known to be the sunniest place in Japan. It's hilly with peach and olive groves sandwiched between the sea and the mountains. They call this region the Fruit Kingdom. And it's absolutely beautiful here, especially now that it's autumn. Finally, it's cooling down. Recently, we celebrated the harvest moon, and soon, like in New England, we'll start to see colored leaves. Not the rustic colors I grew up with on Cape Ann, but like vivid, neon almost reds and yellows and purples. For me, there's just a month until the Okayama Marathon. I think I'm ready. I especially like the long runs in October with the cooler temperatures. The hot sun is welcome on those runs, but that's not what I'm going to report on today. Today I want to tell you about a race that happened in September when the Asian summer heat and humidity was still absolutely brutal as it has been these last few years. The race takes place in the industrial seaside town next to Okayama called Kojima. Kojima is where your high-end denim comes from. The best denim in the world comes with that tag, made in Japan. And what it means is made in Kojima. Japanese denim is like analog art made by true craftsmen working long hours, putting each textile through dozens of processes and sub-processes and sub-sub-processes. It's fairly amazing, and you should come here on vacation, and we'll run together. Anyway, these hardy people put together an official race. Well, sort of official, as you'll see. It's a 100-kilometer race. Well, sort of 100 kilometers, as you'll see. It takes place in an area where, over centuries, part of the inland sea was filled in. Reclaimed land, connecting Kojima to an island with some fairly precipitous peaks. In fact, the race route includes 1,300 meters of elevation. Peter, that's 4,500 feet. And then the last third, after you've run like 2 consecutive marathon distances, is on burning pavement, on sidewalks, in a factory town with full traffic. There are aid stations, but no area roped off for runners. It's just a normal Sunday in Kojima. And it's 90 plus degrees and 90% humidity. This is the Asian summer in a La Nina year. And it's hot, like really, really hot. Anyway, Obviously, I didn't run this race. The leader of my running club, Tim Cleminson, ran it, and we crewed him. Tim is a professor at the university here, and he's both a remarkable runner and a remarkable person, as you'll see. I hope you enjoy this story, and if you are currently running, all the better. I asked you to help me start running because of HWRT, and I was thinking I wanted to run a marathon.
Right.
And you didn't.
No, I'm not interested in events, really. For me, running is freedom. And if you join an event, especially like very professional events where there is a set course and, you know, there are people guarding and guiding you along the way, then, you know, they're deciding where you run and how you run. And that's like just more rules for me. And work is where there are rules and you have to do things other people say, but running is freedom. That's like a part of my character.
You did have a goal, though. There was a kind of run that you wanted to do.
Yeah, I wanted to do like a coast-to-coast run. That's from the Sea of Japan down to the Seito Inland Sea, and that's about 130 kilometers, which is a long way. And that to me just seemed like a romantic thing to do, to run from one ocean or one sea to another. But I didn't at that time. That was probably like 2018, 2019. It was just like an image. But I thought that's what I'm going to do, and I started training for it.
Just to give everyone an image of this, Japan from coast to coast means going over very kind of large mountains.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
Not, you know, you're not running down the street.
Well, I don't know. I just like challenges, and actually, I love mountains. I love to run mountains. I think running uphill is one of my strengths.
Right.
And I don't know why or how, but I just kind of enjoy it. I like. Yeah.
But so how did you even hear about the Kojima 100? Because it's not like it's not on any of the websites that I checked or.
Okay, well, that story is I started to use Strava. And then I saw that I was running these weird kind of mountain routes. And I saw that this other runner was also running these routes. And he'd set up loads of segments. And that's a guy called Kurata-san. And he was a little bit like a kind of mystery figure, almost like kind of a spy or like, you know, the man in the shadow. So I knew him on Strava, but I never met him. And we were running the same routes.
Our mystery runner in Boston is Danielle the sheep.
Right, okay. Yeah, similar vibe, right? Okay. So Kurata-san was Danielle the sheep of Okayama. And so eventually I reached out to him and we started running together. He's like another like 10, 15 years older than me. So kind of like my senpai, my senior.
Amazing. And how old are you?
I'm 50 now, yeah. So, but he then introduced me to the Kojima run because I saw on his Strava that he'd run it before. And so he introduced me to the local community. And they're a really lovely bunch of all amateur kind of running clubs. But very kind of warm, friendly, and welcoming.
And now you have your own club.
Yeah, that's right. The Peace Pistons. Yeah, which you're part of.
Yeah, well, I'm crew. Please don't think I'm doing 100K anytime soon.
Well, we've done 50K together.
We have done a 50K together. Yeah.
Yeah,
we did that 50K in a place called Wake. And we did it at the same time that HWRT were doing their 50K in Boston.
And I remember for that run, you made like one of your mystical maps to help you kind of cut up the distance and get through and make it more of like a story. But you also made one for this run too, which was great actually. Because I've been running, I ran it with a friend, and as we were kind of practicing parts of it, we were talking about how to create a storyline, and we thought like Spaghetti Western would be a good one because we both kind of liked some of those theme tunes, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and some of the music as well. And I was listening to that as I was doing the whole run. So you made a map based on like Spaghetti Western theme.
What is this land formation? Do you know?
You mean Kojima?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kojima, anything that has Jima or Shima on the end of it as a place name in Japan, that means island.
Right.
So Kojima used to be an island. Now, because they've kind of reclaimed the land, it's more of like a peninsula.
Okay.
But the route, the 100K, actually goes around all of the port towns of the old island. So that's kind of the theme of the original Japanese race. But we turned it into like spaghetti western. And
yeah. What were some of the place names on the map?
Bone Shaker Canyon.
Bone Shaker Canyon.
I mean, actually, you've run up Bone Shaker Canyon with me a long time ago.
Shook my bones.
Yeah, it's a wicked part of the race.
Yeah.
And after that, you go into like the Bay of the Ghost Ships, and that's more like how you feel inside.
Yeah.
And we have another part of that which is dedicated to you too, which is Goliath, as in David and Goliath, and that was like. Right. A kind of quite a difficult slope, like 100 meters elevation.
We did that in 2021, maybe, and that was the point where, there's
you flipped.
That was the one time I showed flashed some anger at you. Yeah. Because we had run over the entire mountain, and we got to the bottom, and then there was another one.
Yeah, that's right.
I was not happy.
Yeah. It was more of a hill, that one, but I'd forgotten that it was. Sorry, I do apologise.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many people run this race?
This year there were 75, and only half managed to complete.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, it's known in Japan as one of the toughest ultras because it's in the middle of September, where it's like crushingly, punishingly hot and humid. So it's not just you're not battling the distance, you're also battling the heat.
It was hot. It was. Yeah. I mean, we were doing the crew. We didn't even run, and we were exhausted in the heat.
Yeah,
I mean, it was.
Yeah,
yeesh.
Yeah. And actually, as part of the training too, that was because this year I started a new job in April, and my training's been really bad. I was completely out of shape. And I only really started training in June, so I had like kind of 4 months to do it. And the first 10 weeks went pretty well, but as I was pushing through and it was getting hotter and hotter, and I was continuing to train quite heavily, I think it was really taking a lot out of my body. One of the kind of games that we play is that as our little running group, we all have an animal spirit. And Dave named me the fleet-footed fox.
Yes.
And the other runner who ran with me in this race, he's always chuckling as he runs, so we call him Hi, like as in hyena. And Dave is the dependable, sure and steady caribou.
I am the caribou. I'm not quite a Clydesdale, not just under the Clydesdale. I'm a reindeer.
Yeah. But, the whole thing is that when we run together, we're all running at a similar pace. It's a real social thing. And those kind of animal spirits, I think they do give you more energy and power on the runs. But anyway, kind of getting back to the training, Hi and I had done like a 50K over part of the course. And that was like about a month before the actual race day, and at the end of that I just burst out in kind of hives, so I had kind of like welts, and like my kind of skin was just lighting up like a Christmas tree.
What temperature was it that day?
I think that day it got to like, because I'm British, so like 37, 38 degrees, so that's probably
almost
close.
100.
Yeah, that's it.
100 degrees, and it was humid. This is Asia.
Yeah, and we were running like 50K, so that was really tough. And
over a mountain.
Yeah, and over a mountain. Yeah, or two. But I think that then it kind of like I got damaged and I got into quite a weak state, and from that point on, so I had like a month to go to the race. My body condition was really poor. And I went. I had like a couple of days away with my wife in Thailand, and we were walking everywhere, and the hives actually was coming out of my feet, so my feet were like crazily swollen. And with all the walking, it was like affecting my plantar. And I came back, and I had a couple of weeks to go, and I was feeling really low.
We started hearing doubt from you, and it's almost like kids with a parent. Like, we never heard out from you.
Right,
So
yeah.
we were all a little bit nervous.
Right, yeah. I mean, I said to Hi, basically, it's better to have your blip now than next week.
Yeah.
I said that to him, and I was trying to convince myself that was that was going to happen. So anyway, then the night before the race, it's a 5 a.m. start, so I have to leave home around about 2, and so I went to bed early and lay in bed, and then my ears started really kind of like hurting, and so I kind of like stuffed my finger in there because trying to relieve the pressure, and then it kind of popped. It was really painful, and then it just started bleeding. So like, this is 11 o'clock at night. I hadn't been able to sleep. I had kind of blood pouring out of my ears. I had hives, and I was just feeling like this is impossible. I just can't run this race. And so I texted you and told you, and
I had visions of Peter running in Millinocket, and I said, no, you don't need to run. I basically opened the door for you to walk out.
Yeah, and at that time I wanted to walk through that door. That's kind of I genuinely felt a sense of like panic and doom, and I was sitting down on my sofa just like feeling sorry for myself. And then my wife, she came out of the shower, and she saw me there looking miserable. And then she just sat down and gave me a cuddle and said, look, just go and run as far as you can. Just do what you can do. It doesn't matter. Even if it's 5K and you turn back, it doesn't matter. But, you know, you've wanted to do this for a long time. So just go do it.
Yeah.
And she was right.
I woke up at 5 a.m. and the beacon was turned on.
That's right.
It was like, yes!
That was, because we arrived about 4 a.m. and, it's pitch black then, but still like kind of like mid-80s temperature-wise and humid. And you get your little bid number and stick it on your chest, and you check your pack, and you've got your fuels, and you're like kind of GU chews and things like that, all kind of so we were just kind of like, with registration was about 4 a.m. and then they go through, and they have, in Japan there's always a ceremony, so there's an opening ceremony, and then they introduce new running clubs that are coming, and like, you know, the captain of one of the running clubs was like kind of talking, and he just wouldn't stop talking, but it didn't really matter because nobody was listening, but everyone's just thinking about their race, because, you know, as it gets closer to the time, you start to get a little bit anxious. And you will hear from Captain Fuji a little bit later on, the organizer of it all, but, you know, it grew out of like local groups and their love for running, and everything about it just feels like homemade. All
right, well, let's take a pause and hear what Captain Fuji has to say.
Okay, lovely.
昔4地区合同のランニング大会というものがありまして、
In the past, local running clubs would come together and run marathons. They would take turns to organize events in their local area. But the members were getting old and couldn't do it any longer. I thought what they did was amazing, so I said, let's continue this and organize a local marathon in Kojima. But the local ultra runner, Endo Tatsuro, said, if we obey the traffic laws, we could actually make it a 100-kilo ultra around the whole peninsula. I've been doing it for 17 years now. Preparation pretty much takes up the whole of my year. I'm the main organizer, so I've never actually run in the competition, though I've run the route on practice days. On the day of the event, I hardly sleep. I'm prepping from 2 a.m. and there's an 18-hour race limit, so I'm at headquarters until 11 p.m. This event is special because it's local. Local volunteers run aid stations and support the runners. But it's not like a marathon with cheering crowds lining the streets. Most of the time, the runners are just running free along the sidewalks. They have to find the strength and motivation on their own. And this helps them develop as runners. It helps to build the inner strength to challenge and go on to greater things. I feel content to know the event helps runners grow.
Getting back to the race, it's like kind of 5 a.m. when we're all under that homemade banner, and everyone's just switching on their headlights. And the first part of the race, we called that Fuji's Ranch, like setting off from Fuji's Ranch. You're running down these kind of really rugged coastline down, and it's like kind of pine forest there. So the scent is really beautiful. You've got this scent of pine, and everyone has their little kind of lights on, and the lights are bobbing through the darkness, and you're going down to the sea and down to the main strip. So another thing about this race is because it is local and it's amateur, like the traffic doesn't stop for this race. I mean, it couldn't stop because it's over such a huge distance. It would like bring the whole area into kind of like lockdown. So you have to obey traffic rules.
What?
Yeah, so every time you come to a traffic light, if it just happens to be red, then you've got to stop.
It's very Japanese in a way.
Yeah, it is very Japanese, yeah.
It's got to be polite and
that's it, yeah.
Follow the rules. And,
yeah. I stood there with an old Japanese guy, and I said, like, can't we just... He was like, no. He got his finger out and pointed it at me. So, yeah, I got told off. But anyway, yeah, so, that was... So, as I say, like, I didn't think I was going to be able to get very far in this race, but I just kind of started. And the first 10K went by okay. It was pretty cool then. The sun came up around about 6, but as soon as it came up, it started to get hot pretty quick.
Yes.
And that's when we got to the first mountain, and I got up there, and I was kind of feeling okay at that point. It was still reasonable. And then as we came back down to sea level, it started to get really, really hot. And I met back up with Hai then. We just happened to kind of like be at the same aid station. And so then we started to run together for maybe about another 30K.
What's at the aid station? To drink and to eat and stuff like that?
Again, that's a very like Japanese affair. The drinks you'll have will be like water, sports drink, Coke as well, and then green tea, and maybe like wheat tea or something like that.
No food?
The food is, again, you have like the rice balls, the onigiri. I don't know if that's a common term in America, but like rice balls. You'll have weird sort of sweet snacks made from red beans.
Okay.
Pickled plums.
Yeah.
So it's like this weird array of food that, I mean, to be honest with you.
It's all amateurs, all volunteers.
All volunteers,
It's not like the Okayama Marathon where it is a smorgasbord.
Yeah,
like
that's right.
It's incredible running the marathon. Every single aid station has gourmet food. You can stop for ramen.
That's right.
Like literally stop for ramen.
Yeah.
30K into the run. But that's not what you had.
No. I mean, I've got a friend who runs Okayama, and he always stops for ramen, and he runs under 3 hours with a ramen stop. And that's kind of pretty impressive, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's not what we have. It's very, very basic. And like Hai and I, we'd already just decided our fuel, so we were kind of carrying our fuel with us. And yeah, so I remember as we were coming up to like Black Saddle Pass, which is where there's 3 mountains on the race, and at one junction at the pass, it's going right up Kaigariyama. And I remember running up that hill, and Hai's quite a bit younger than me, and he was looking really, really strong. And I was like, my heart rate right from the outset was high. It was running like 160 from the start, which is like a lot higher than normal. And I remember going up that hill, and my heart rate was going like 170, 180, 185. And I was thinking like, oh, this is crazy. I'm just not going to be able to do this. Maybe it doesn't make sense to plan to win. It makes sense to concentrate on the moment and manage the moment.
Okay.
And if you do that, then maybe that gives you a better chance of doing well or completing the race. And actually, the guy who won that race, he was there with me at that point, and he kind of passed me. And I was starting to feel quite tired then. We'd already run a marathon, and my calves were kind of getting tight. And so up that mountain, I was running a bit, walking a bit, running a bit, walking a bit. And as I was running up there, Captain Fuji drove by in his little Honda mini van, and he kind of sort of stopped and nodded at me and said, "This is the hardest part, so keep going." That gave me a little bit of a boost, and I made it to the top. So yeah, I mean, I just relaxed up there for a bit, and then headed down Bone Shaker Canyon.
Bone Shaker Canyon. Now,
Yeah.
we all know that going down can be a huge challenge, and for a lot of us, a harder thing than going up.
Oh yeah, it's incredibly tough on the quads and also like kind of on the toes too. And it's an incredibly steep route. I don't know quite why they chose that route, because you can go down other ways that aren't so steep. But the ground also, it is road, but it's very, very rugged. So it's difficult to keep your footing too. And yeah, by the time I got back down to the sea and the Bay of Ghost Ships, I just felt brutalized. And even though I'd had that up the top, I'd had like that full change, and I felt really fresh when I started off from the summit. By the time I got back down to sea, I was just like...
This is around the time that the team showed up. How many K were you at that point through it?
After the hill, after the mountain, probably about like 54, 55 maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
So we started to show up at the 70 mark where we were going to meet you.
Yeah.
We stepped out of the car and it was burning. The sun was burning hot. Like I can't explain, like, every once in a while it ducked behind a cloud and it became tolerable. But when the sun was actually out, it was like a sauna. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Couldn't imagine it.
And at the aid stations, they had ice, and that's what I was using to try and manage my body temperature. Because that was the thing. It was basically like, if you can manage your body temperature, then you can continue to run. But if you can't, then you just collapse, basically. So... and I remember when I came down the mountain, I started to run along the coast. All of that ice had melted, and I was getting hot again. And I had to find a drinks machine to get cold water just to pour it on my head to stop. Like, it just felt like I was going to collapse. Like.
And you are halfway done.
Yeah, that's right. Still got halfway to go. Anyway, so yeah, eventually I made it to you, and that was joyous too, because like to meet the Peace Pistons crew. And you'd set up a chair and you had everything ready.
It was like a race car coming in. We took the tires off.
Exactly.
It was amazing.
And you weren't doing the kindness bit. You were doing the sympathy bit. You actually played it really well, because you were like, "Hey, you're looking strong," and it felt like a pit stop. And it was quite unemotional, and that was perfect.
Until
you tried to make me eat crisps.
I tried to make you eat. Now,
Potato
see, this
chips.
is the thing. I
Chips.
had watched a YouTube video about how to crew. Someone doing 100K, and it was like, they have to have calories. They're not going to want to eat, but you should tell them that they should eat. And I said before the seesaw thing, this is the one time that you ever flashed a little bit of anger in my direction.
Right, yeah. Although, I mean, I thought I was just explaining, because I was trying to be polite and explain to you why I couldn't eat potato chips.
The crew all caught each other's eyes.
Yeah.
Like,
whoa. But I was just saying that, like, all of the calories in my body are being used to maintain my body temperature, and I don't have extra calories to digest food. So I mean, drink somehow that cools you down as well. Yeah. So, but yeah, solids are kind of difficult to manage. After about 50, 60K, I wasn't really eating. I was just drinking. And
I can't remember if you were in 4th or 5th place at that moment, but the guy who had come in before you looked terrible.
Yeah. For the record, I did eat some potato chips.
You did.
Yeah, for you, Dave. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I mean, I remember you and John are saying that the guy in front of me looked injured, right? And I left you guys again feeling refreshed, and I had a change of shoes with you guys, which helped out as well. And I then got to Gridlock Plains, which is a really grim part of the run.
Beefaloes.
Yeah, that's right. It's 10K. It's a 4-lane kind of like motorway. You're running along the pavement. There's loads of car fumes. And in the distance, I could see that guy, and because he was wearing a bright green shirt like I was, but he had a runner with him, and you're not really meant to have runners, you know. Cause I think he was just like giving him moral support, and he was looking over his shoulder, and he could see me, and every time he saw me, he kind of ran off like and got a little spurt of energy, but I didn't care. I mean, I wasn't, like I say, I wasn't thinking about positions in race. I was trying not to die at this point. My breath was so kind of like shallow. I was just breathing through my mouth and just like
hottest part of the day.
Yeah,
must have been.
That's it. Zero shade. And I actually stopped and went into a pharmacy just to get like OS1, which is like a special rehydration drink
and for
context,
the infirmed. For context, like in defense of both of you, you were at the point where you had just finished your second marathon of the day in a row.
Yeah. Although in a way, you know, I wasn't thinking about distance at all. And this is another of the things. It's like on my watch, I just had my heart rate and the pace that I was running at. Those were the only two data fields. I didn't have like distance. And obviously, like the watch would ping every kilometer, so I knew that I was progressing, but I wasn't thinking about distance. I was just trying to manage the moment, and just see how far. Like, let's make it to the next aid station. Let's make it to Dave, and you know, all of these kind of like small goals along the way. So I've got like 20k to go then. And then I started to think about distance a bit. Again, when I was running and I was feeling like kind of delusional, it was kind of like a mystical experience. I remember I stopped at this other intersection. It was a big one, and I was just so exhausted that I knelt by like a fence a little bit away from the intersection, and I needed to relieve myself. So I knew I wasn't going to make it to a toilet because all my body was so weak. And so I just kind of positioned myself so I wouldn't soil myself. And I thought I would have a wee, but it was like kind of hot treacle. It was like this really mystical, weird moment. And it was almost like the nadir of everything. And then when I stood up and walked up and started to run again, I started to think, okay, that's when I can visualize the end here.
This is like the opposite of this is like the opposite of Brian's first run in Millinocket, where he is freezing and his hands are freezing and his feet are freezing, and for the first time in his run he can't see anyone,
right? Yeah,
like behind him or in front of him, right?
Yeah, it's kind of
it's
mystical. It's a magical kind of moment.
It's like the other side of the mirror.
I was the boil in the bag rice, kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, when I got to TP Trails, I sat down, and that was another aid station where they really helped me out. They gave me a lot of ice, and I found out at that station that High had retired, and that was in a way again like I had to process that because I was all the time expecting him. He's a younger, fitter runner than me. I was expecting him to catch me up, and in my mind, I was kind of imagining us finishing together. And so when I realised that he wasn't going to do that, I was like, okay, I felt more determined that I'm definitely going to bring this home. And so then when I turned the corner there, like with 20k to go, I started running. And then I kind of thought, actually, no, I'm going to do this. It just started to click. And I felt like I'm going to bring this home.
I was surprised to find out that the finish line was high up. So it was like I was thinking, like, not only did I just find out that the race isn't 100K, but it's 105K, but that last 5K is a hill.
Yeah, there's two hills. They take you up a hill, then you go down a hill, then you got to go up another hill. It's like,
I mean, this place, there's a temple there, and it's so high up, and it's overlooking the Seto Inland Sea, and it was just shining and beautiful, and I was just complaining incessantly about how hot I felt.
Right, yeah.
And I was standing in the shade drinking.
Yeah. And that's tough when you're now 95k in, and you're exhausted. So I was like walking up the hills and running down and walking up and running down just to like kind of manage my heart rate. And then as I turned one corner, I saw the guy that you'd seen way back, and you said that he was injured, and I came around the corner and it was just at the crest of a hill, so I was walking and he didn't hear me, and I saw him like holding his ankle, looking pained, And I say like I don't want to win. I don't want to come in, whatever. But at that time, at the moment, I needed something to give me extra motivation to bring it home. So I thought to myself, I'm just gonna run past this guy like really strong, even though I was like in pain a lot myself. I'm going to run past him and make it look like there's no chance he's ever going to catch me, and I'm going to get third place. I'm going to get to the podium.
Yeah.
So I ran past him. I said nothing. I didn't even say gambate. I was like, I thought to myself, I've just got to mentally kill this guy and make sure I get third place.
Yeah.
So suddenly like something clicked inside, and I was like, the fox. The predator came out and
man, and then we saw you come around the corner, and it was like magic.
Yeah,
the sun was setting. It was, you were running in slow motion. And there were butterflies, and it was like,
Well, no, I mean that's
amazing.
That last climb as well. I was walking some of it, and like you kind of said, he's going to make sure he runs.
Yeah, no, I turned to your wife and your daughter, and I said, he's walking right now, but when he comes around that corner, he'll be running.
That's right.
You'll see.
Yeah.
That's
see.
it. Yeah, and then you came in. Man, that was amazing. And I want to point out, because this is crazy to me. So the guy who came in first came in just about 12 hours. And we were there for the next 2 hours, basically still up there. And only 4 people came in. So only in the first 2 hours of finishing, only 4 runners came in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was amazing.
It's one of the most punishing races.
And you said that maybe half of the people in your race actually finished. They must have finished in the dark hours later.
Yeah, I think the cutoff point is 18 hours. And, when I was talking to Fuji about it, he's like, actually, most other ultras, they have a much shorter cutoff points, but we're not really about, like, being professional, making fast times. It's about getting everyone home and everyone having that experience. Everyone, when you finish, you're happy to hug and,
so you did
congratulate each other.
100K in the blazing heat in Japan. You came in third. So can you give me a little philosophy here?
I don't know if I've got any really, Dave. I just kept on running. That's what I did. But I will say that, like you said, everyone believed in me and thought that I would pull it off, but I didn't at all. I was full of self-doubt, and especially with my condition and everything. So to have done it, to have completed it, I now do feel more belief in myself, in my own kind of strength, and the fact that if I work hard, I can do it. And that, I have maybe kind of mental and physical strength to take other challenges. It's not just about running, actually. It's about life, and that sense of achievement, that if you put your mind to it, if you put the work in, you can do something which, when you start off, seems unbelievable, seems unrealistic, seems impossible, but you get there. I mean, you've had the same kind of experiences, right? The marathon, the 50K, these are just as incredible. They're just as much a kind of a challenge, and you've been there too.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
And I hope everyone out there in the How Was Your Run Today community has a great run today. Oh, I forgot to ask you.
Yeah.
How was your run today?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I got in a little 5K around the castle.
Excellent. Okay.
Well, that was amazing. Guest reporter.
That's amazing. I don't understand why we do this show. Maybe Dave should take over and just do the... Should we have a Japanese version of the show?
You're always so one way or the other.
Should we sell off this brand?
Why can't Dave just occasionally
Send us a little note?
Yeah.
A little note in a bottle?
Yeah, a little note in a bottle, a little podcast in a bottle.
It was very good.
It was excellent.
Tim sounds like a great guy. Tim does sound like Dave's Professor Lollipop. Am I right?
That's true. Absolutely. Peter, I have a question for you.
Oh my god! On the back end, you have a question now?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It took me all that time to come up with it because it's unique.
Oh.
How was your run today?
Well, Brian, thank you so much. As you know, because you were there, it was good. We went out for a very pretty New England fall day, Sunday morning.
There's still some leaves on the trees.
Because of the time change, I do feel well rested. I got plenty of sleep. It was a little cold.
It's all right.
But it was still shorts and long sleeve. It was fine.
Now, you've been sick, and you're just coming back into it. How are you feeling?
I'm a little still in the chesty, congesty. It was just a cold, but it's the kind of cold that just lingers for a good 2 weeks. It's literally 2 weeks today from the first symptom.
Ugh.
And I know a couple of people who have it. My son has it. And it's just annoying as heck. And it does linger. It's just gross. So yeah, you definitely hear it in my voice. But I was able to get into I'll tell you where, we only went for like 3+ miles.
Do you have to let it linger?
Are you doing a little cranberries right there?
A little bit. A little Gen X. Shout out.
R.I.P. Dolores O'Riordan.
Well, true.
Around mile 2.
Yeah.
That's where it actually started to feel okay. It took that long.
No, that's fine.
Because sometimes the pushing past the suck is just a mile. Mm-hmm. But today it was the second mile, toward the end of it.
Yeah.
So mile 2 to 3 was nothing. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, loosened up.
Loosened up. You may have even seen a sprint out of me there.
I sure did. I was like, I don't know what this guy is doing.
I put the hammer down.
Still got a mile to go.
Yeah, I know. I didn't really understand the rest of the route. I just was trying to be macho. It was cool. I'm glad we're done. I'm glad you made coffee when we got back because I'm under caffeinated.
Yeah, nice coffee after a run is
nice
really
coffee. I think we're going to watch a little American football.
That's right.
As opposed to European football.
Right. The rest of the world football.
Yep. And then that's about it. And there's nothing else to talk about because nothing else is happening in the world.
Well, I've done my part.
So have I.
As far as that's concerned.
I took care of that. I did it in person. I did it early.
I did it early by mail.
Now here was my quandary.
Mm-hmm.
So on the voting front, I was registered in my old town.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved.
Okay.
And I didn't change my registration, but I changed the registration of my vehicle.
Okay.
And guess what happens when that happens?
Oh, well.
In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you automatically get unenrolled from your previous place and you get enrolled to the address where the car is now registered.
Because we passed the motor voter law.
We certainly did. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that I was a registered voter in the great city of Boston.
That's
right.
It's
my first time. After all these years of living in the Commonwealth, I'm actually a Boston resident. And I, on the very first day, 2 weeks ago, of early voting, I went right there to a public school, walked in, they had my name on the rolls, and I voted.
Well, that's how it's supposed to work.
It's freaking great.
I put mine in the mail. I actually got mine in the mail, filled it out, popped it in the drop box outside of town hall.
Nice. Very nice.
Easy.
Have you checked on it? Because you can go to a website and check on it.
Yeah, I told you this.
I know you showed me the link. I just want people to think I'm smart. It's fine.
Well, you haven't asked me how my beer run was last week.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Because we did the run together, I know exactly how your run was today.
Mm-hmm.
But last week, you and good friend of the show, Brewmeister Will.
Yeah.
I always want to call him Brewmaster.
I think he is Brewmaster Will.
I thought he was Brewmeister.
Whatever.
Brewster.
Hi, Will.
Hi, Brewster Will.
Brewster's Millions.
You guys went on a little self-prescribed route.
Well, Will... of course, is a brewer, and he loves going to breweries. And last year or 2 years ago, I don't remember how long ago it was, we left from his driveway, which is just down the street from my house.
Very close.
And we went to the Mighty Squirrel Brewing in Waltham.
That was just a year ago?
I think so, and sampled some stuff there. And then this time, we went to Jack's Abbey, which is now, I believe, the second largest... microbrewer in Massachusetts.
Second only to?
I think Sam Adams.
I think that's right. I think they're bigger than Harpoon now.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Yeah, they're very good.
And they've purchased a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Whirlpool and a whole bunch of other breweries
And still brew under those labels.
Yeah, they brew under those. It's a huge. We've done the tour there, you and I, Peter. It was so fun. It's a big facility. They brew lots of different kinds of beers. They have a lot of brewery only flavors. It's just if you're into food and or beer, it's just kind of a. It's fun to see the different styles that they make, and even just for a short time, they'll have these interesting, like they have this banana flavored beer and all kinds of weird stuff.
But that's over in Framingham. That's not necessarily close to where your houses are.
No, but it's actually so close that Will had to make basically a 5-mile loop in the opposite direction to start off.
Oh, to get the miles.
It's much closer than it feels like, although there's usually a ton of traffic between here and there, so it feels much longer. But it was fine. I was not in shape to run a half marathon, so the last couple of miles were a lot of walking and a little grimacing. But it felt really good. I mean, it felt good. I had the endurance, certainly. My legs just weren't used to running for that long. Will was doing great. Will, we have to bring him on again sometime soon because he has been doing this run every road in a town thing. Yeah. And he's done our town, and he's done all the towns around us, and now I forget where he's working on now, but he literally is running every road in these cities and towns. It's incredible.
That is incredible.
Yeah. Of course, Professor Lollipop, I believe, did all of Cambridge and Boston, every road.
I think he completed all of it, yeah.
Just outrageous. So we'll have to follow up with them at some point soon.
What are you doing in preparation for the Soul Searching Solstice Run?
The shortest day of the year will be the longest run of my life. May end up crying some tears. I really just hope I survive. Gonna put one foot in front of the other. Who knows what I'll discover on my soul searching solstice run. December 21st is really gonna hurt. My soul searching solstice run. I'm hoping that it's worth it, becoming malnourished, pounding that pavement, looping 5K. I really hope that I don't dehydrate on my soul searching solstice run. I'll tell you all about it when I get done.
Well, it's November. I'm running every day in November. I'm doing a little streak.
Oh my God.
Little old school November project workout every day. But I'm doing, it's only a mile at the minimum. So
I love that.
Doing that, a little bit of that, keeping it real.
I let you do the streaks. That's your department.
Yeah.
I do
1 month.
Yeah, I'm Fitz and Starts. That's my law firm.
Fitz and Starts and Sons.
Yep. Because I'm all about the spurts. But I'm looking forward to the 21st. I love December 21st, and then it's on a Saturday.
It's on a Saturday, so make sure you come out.
There's no excuse for people to not come out. Do we want to tell people where it's
Well,
at?
except they're going to be running for 7+ hours from sunup to sundown. I mean, that would be a reason not to come out.
It's 9 hours and 4 minutes, but okay.
It's 9 hours?
It's 9 hours.
It's so
and
much
4
further than I thought
minutes.
I was running.
It's 9 hours and 4 minutes.
So we go up to Wakefield, Lake Quannapowitt. If you follow my social media, or I'm sure we'll put it on HWYRT, we'll tell Internet Dan how to throw those coordinates up there, and you'll be able to join us. And I think we're going to have a good crew because it is on a Saturday.
And, when we say join us, you don't have to be there 10 minutes before sunrise. Come anytime.
Yeah, run a few laps around noon like a normal person, like a sane person.
Take one lap and just hang and chit-chat. It's not about anything other than what you want it to be. It's a good time.
But if you want to take advantage of getting all the daylight in your face for the shortest day of the year, you're going to get more daylight every other day after this.
Right. How do you celebrate the least amount of daylight? Oh, I know. Be out in it.
Be out in it. That's the whole idea.
And you know what? It could be warm.
It's possible.
It's probably not going to rain.
Let's not really talk about weather.
I can't.
It could be anything.
If it's wet, I may not go.
Could be wet. It could be snowy. It could be icy. It could be warm.
I'm
Could be
literally,
cold.
I'm literally a fair weather runner. I've decided.
That's fine.
Is it?
Yeah, of course it is.
Is it? Where's my fire? Where's my gumption, Brian?
You're just getting back into it.
I gotta get ready for Japan.
Also, we all have this oppressive weight hanging over us for the next 48 hours or so.
Do you mean that I'm overweight?
And
what do you,
not that
what do you mean? I am. I know I am. I'm fine with it.
It's this looming event of.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Let's just.
So, not a lot of people are starting new plans anytime right now. So, just do what you can.
Just get through the day. Get
just
through the
get
next
through
few
the day.
days. Just see how it all. Everyone breathe.
Yeah.
Everyone vote. Everyone breathe. It's fine.
And then by December 21st, you'll be ready to do a thing. Maybe that's your kickoff.
No matter what, that'd be a good day to get outside.
That's right. Be a good day to get outside.
Well, this has been very motivational.
Fantastic. I'm glad it has been.
And I
agree.
I want to go back and thank Tim and Dave for their interview. That was fun. And I can't wait. Do you think I get to meet Tim in person when I go to Japan?
You have to.
Do you think he's going to make me run with him?
Yes.
Oh, God. I guess I better. I'm not going to streak, baby. We know what happens when I streak.
Will you see you December 21st?
I'll see you there.
Where's the finish line? Which way to the finish line?
You can't get there from here.